Welcome to Kevin's European Garage, and today I'm going to be changing the drive belt on this 2014 Mini Cooper Countryman S. So the drive belt in this car is cracked, and it's cracked pretty bad. So I got a replacement here from Continental. So that's what I'm putting in here today. I already got the car up on jack stands. If you do need instructions on how to put the car on jack stands, just let me know in the comments. And maybe I'll do another video just to show you how to properly jack up the car so you don't have any problems. So the next thing you got to do is you got to remove this wheel, and then we'll go from there. And there's no real special tools needed. So let's get started. Okay, so what we got to do over here is we got to take this panel off, just this cover, so we can get access to the belt, which is over here. So we'll start at the bottom section by taking these off, these 4 screws over here, and then we just have some regular plastic screws that we got to remove. This is an 8mm. Now next we'll take these out. Over here. Then we got one over here. And there's another one down over here that we'll get to next. This one is spinning in there. You have to hold your finger on the edge. Right over here. Another one over here, so I just removed this one. And we got one up right behind the strut. Screw right here on the bottom. There's a lot of little screws that hold this thing on. There's 2 screws, plastic screws, one over here and one over here, right underneath the front. So let's remove these out. Okay, this one over here. Back enough. Okay, so now that we got that cover out of the way, down below we're gonna have to remove this headlight. So we gotta grab this plug on the top and the bottom. There's some tabs, squeeze them like that, pull it back, and then next we're gonna remove 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 down in here to remove the headlight out of the car. You can lift the headlight just straight out of the car. So this gives us plenty of room over here to work, and we're gonna be working down inside here. Okay, so here's the tensioner for the belt. And what we need to do is we have to relieve the tension on here. Lucky enough, it's got a little pin all the way in the back over here that you're gonna slide back in. But in order to get a socket on this, we're gonna have to raise up the engine a little bit. So right over here, you can see the nut for the mount. So we're gonna take an 18mm wrench and break that one free. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna jack up the engine. And to do that, we're going to use the jack with a piece of wood on the bottom of it so we don't damage the oil pan. Okay, so now we got it on there. Now the next thing we're going to do, make sure we clear that piece of plastic. So now we're going to go back up top. Okay, so now we're going to jack up this motor mount. And we want to be careful that we don't touch this pipe. We don't want to crack it. This is the turbocharger pipe coming out of the intercooler into the intake manifold over here. So we want to make sure that we don't crack this. So we got to be careful on how high we jack this up. So you just got to pay attention. Jack it up slowly until we're almost touching. And that's it. We're pretty much almost touching the pipe. And now we have enough room to get onto this, which is a 30mm socket. So I got an extension and a breaker bar on here. So what we're gonna do is twist this clockwise, bring up the bar, as you can see, and on the very back of it, there's a push pin. And as you're doing that, you push on it, and you can feel where the slot is. And that locks that piece into place. And here's that pin I'm talking about. You want to move that at the same time while pushing this to lock this into place. And now we go on the bottom to remove the other tensioner that actually runs off of the crank pulley that rides against the water pump pulley. And now that we're done up top for a little while, we can lower the engine down, make it so we have access to this pulley over here. So let's slowly lower the engine. Yeah, I just grabbed a bungee here to pull this panel out of place and hold it up here while we're down below. This is the tensioner. What you gotta do is you gotta pull this straight out. You gotta wiggle it back and forth to get it out. Don't wiggle too hard. Once you do that and pull, it will release tension on the belt, and you'll be able to remove the belt from the main pulley over here, the crank pulley, go into that auxiliary pulley, as you can see as I pull this back and forth. That's the only way to get the belt off. So now we got that. So now the next thing to do is just take the belt off. First, you want to lift the belt off the alternator, pull it back, so now it's loose. And now unfortunately I gotta put the camera down because I need two hands. You have to pull this at the same time while sliding this out from the crank pulley right over here. You can see over here, what you end up doing is this pulley kind of slides back a little bit. Once you're done pulling on the thing, on that cord that comes out of it, pull that down, and then it slides back. Unfortunately, it's hard to show you. So here's the pulley. And like I said, you had to pull that piece out. So you pull on that, pull it back straight, and it releases. And then what you have to do with the other hand is to slide it up like this. And that allows you to get the belt out. You can see the belt is in between, and now you can get the belt out. And get it out. As you can see, this drive belt is in pretty bad shape, pretty badly cracked, with about 50,000 miles on it. So it's absolutely time to do this. And now we got a new belt, Continental, to make sure it's about the same size. And yes, it is. So now we're gonna put this on. You can take a look at the difference between the new belt and that one. You can see it's kind of soft, kind of felty looking, and you can see that this thing is obviously not that anymore. All right, so get the belt on up and in over here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull on that tensioner pulley again, or that tensioner line, releases it. I can slide this out of the way, take my other hand, slowly push it up and in, try to get in place, a little bit more. And let's just double check and feel if this is in there and lined up properly. Yep, is in there and definitely lined up properly. Okay, so over here is that little pin. We can see it, or not the pin, but that pulley. So here we'll push that thing back in all the way. That's good. So now let's pull the belt up, get it around the AC compressor pulley. Next is to get up and around the alternator. You can see this, once you get on the pulley, you have to tighten up this belt. Grab it on the AC compressor over here. Just tighten it up, you can see. And then you can push the top of this around the alternator. And now you got it completely locked into place. Belt is on. Now we got to jack up the engine again. so we could take that tensioner pulley up on top and release that. Let's jack this up. Remember I said just be careful because you don't want to come in contact with those pipes. All right, that's it. So now let's put that 30mm socket back on it. Clockwise, release that tension off of that little push pin. It's spring loaded, so once you just move it a little bit, the thing will automatically come undone for you. All right, just did the last alignment check on everything. Everything looks good. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower down the engine and put that nut back on. I can't really get a torque wrench in there or anything like that to see how much I tighten this thing up to. So tight is going to be good, and since I don't really have any getting leverage, I'll do a little trick. Get one on there, next wrench on there like such, and tighten it down. And that should be really tight. Okay, so the next thing we're going to install is the headlight. Now the holes are kind of large, and I guess they make it so that that you can mess with the alignment on this thing pretty easily. But if your car is kind of dirty like how this one is underneath there, you can kind of see where the bolts were, and you should be able to put it back in the same relative location, so you don't have to worry about trying to align it and everything. So just I would put them on by hand, tighten them up, put them all in first before you do any tightening with any tools, any wrenches or anything like that. You kind of want to get everything situated first. Like I said, there's a fair amount of play in the headlight, and you're gonna have to close the hood and you're gonna have to check the alignment on it. You can see, I mean, these things, you can move it around a little bit. So I'm gonna loosely tighten these things up. I'm not gonna use any power tools or anything like that. All right, let's put down the hood and check the alignment of the headlight. And we can see we're quite a bit off on this, so we're gonna have to finish doing another alignment on it. Okay, so now it's perfectly aligned, and now we can finish tightening this thing back up, and then we can move down to the bottom of the car. Make sure your harness is connected. And now we go back to the bottom of the car. Okay, so now we can put this panel back on. So thanks for watching Kevin's European Garage over here. Thanks for watching me put this belt on this 2014 Mini. This thing was a little bit difficult. It's one of the, I guess you would say, more interesting tensioner setups that I've ever seen, where you got the one main spring-loaded tensioner, and then you're going to have that other tensioner where you got to kind of like pull the plug on it and pull it so you can kind of get it where it rides between the crank pulley and then the water pump. That's something pretty different, pretty interesting. And it's just, with any drive belt on a front-wheel drive car or anything like this, it's just really hard to see up inside there. So hopefully you got at least a halfway decent idea of how you're supposed to do this. So thanks for watching Kevin's European Garage. Thanks for watching me put this thing on here. So like my video, please subscribe. Don't forget to ring that notification bell at the end. And hopefully soon I'll have some more videos coming out for this Mini. All right, thanks a lot.